Hello everybody, I am Matt Goddard, former professional boxer, now boxing coach and fully qualified personal trainer. You can find me on Instagram at The Boxing Locker, ever at The Boxing Locker. Thank you to those who already follow and subscribe. So today, I'm going to be talking about the heavyweight division, the state of it at present, and some of the big fights that we want to discuss. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to mention the names that I think are at the sort of peak of the division and that are in consideration for being the best of the best. So Tyson Fury, numero uno. Number one is Tyson Fury. His achievements already at the division put him at number one. And although he hasn't boxed an enormous number of great heavyweights, he's done what he needs to do against the important ones. That's the important thing. Number two is Alexander Usyk. For me, Alexander Usyk, moving up to cruiserweight, his achievements are exceptional. And at heavyweight, his victory over Joshua demonstrated exactly what a dangerous and incredibly skilled fighter he is. Third, I've got Anthony Joshua. Now, Anthony Joshua for me is a very good heavyweight. He's still above and beyond the next sort of 15 to 20 names. 9 times out of 10, that doesn't mean he can't be beaten because he does have that beatable streak. However, I like his attitude. I like the way he's taken the 2 losses that he has taken. But I have my reservations. We'll go through those shortly. Next up is Deontay Wilder. Now, Deontay Wilder should never be written off. This is a man with 41 knockouts to his name. 41 knockouts is an enormous achievement for any fighter. At heavyweight, you know, whether you doubt the opposition that he came up against or not, the fact that he's knocked out 41 of his opponents is an enormous thing, and he's never boxed an opponent that he didn't put down. That includes Tyson Fury. So dangerous, very dangerous puncher. We saw slight improvements to his skill set working with Malik Scott in his last fight with Fury, but he doesn't seem to have the engine to keep it going. So reservations there as well. And then the other 2 names that I'm going to mention are Dillian Whyte. Obviously, he's a big name in the division. 2 losses, both knockout losses, one of which was avenged, however, and the other one is obviously to Anthony Joshua. He avenged the Povetkin loss with a very good knockout of his own. And the final one is Andy Ruiz. Okay, Andy Ruiz also a very dangerous fighter in the division. He offers something different. He seems to be quite widely avoided. And now he's working with Eddie Reynoso at a Canelo team. It's going to be a very, very interesting thing when we next see him out there against a decent level opposition. So those are the 6 names that I'm going to discuss at present. At the very end, I'll mention a few names that I'm interested in watching, that I'm keeping an eye on, because I think they'll be making splashes in the division soon. So first and foremost, AJ Usyk 2. For me, Anthony Joshua needs to intelligently manhandle Usyk. Okay, he can't let Usyk box his fight. The biggest mistake he made was trying to outbox Usyk. It's a redundant game plan to go in there and try and outbox the best boxer in the division, in my opinion. Fury with a wider skill set, but a lot less control for a smaller man. When you consider Usyk's physical comparisons to the other fighters, he has to work a lot harder to achieve the things he does, which I think he did exceptionally well against AJ. AJ needs to basically box smarter, but in close, using his physicality and size. He needs to dominate Usyk's hand position. He needs to dominate Usyk's head position. Okay, can he do that? I'm not sure. We've obviously seen a change in training circumstances, and we've seen him doing wrestling practice and things like that, which I really like. That should be something done more often. The importance, of integrating wrestling into your clinch work and your infighting is just cannot be understated. You know, somebody like Lomachenko, Usyk himself, guys that Roberto Duran was incredible in close for exactly that reason. These abilities, this strength of position, this way to manipulate opponent's position is a huge talent and a massive advantage at that peak world level. I personally think the fight will go exactly the same. I don't think, though I respect AJ's dedication and his willingness to adapt and try and overcome things, I think he's been stuck in the same patterns for too long. And I think psychologically that knockout against Ruiz broke him to an extent. and I think he hasn't been the same fighter since. So that's my prime reservation about AJ. Obviously, a good performance to come back and beat Ruiz, but it was a fearful performance and a cautious performance, and that's not the kind of thing you see from heavyweights who take losses that then go on to dominate the division. Lennox Lewis, Hasim Rahman is the perfect example. So then we've got that handled. My presumption is that Usyk will win. What Fury does in the meantime, I don't know. Will it be Dillian Whyte? Will it be Andy Ruiz? Will it be another Wilder fight? All three have been mentioned. I think Fury handily dispatches all three, not necessarily in the same circumstances. I think he comfortably beats Whyte on points. I think Whyte is a tough guy. He's got a good chin and he's a lovely scrapper. He'll come in there, he'll keep trying, and he's a dangerous puncher himself. I just think Fury has too much for him. His mobility, his position changing, the way he controls positioning close will take a lot of Whyte's work away from him. And Whyte's very effective jab will become an awful lot less effective when Fury makes it miss and counters. With regards to the Ruiz fight, I think Ruiz is too small. Fury will lean on him, weigh him down, and punch up and down, chop into the back of the head just like he did against Wilder. Not necessarily the cleanest, most boxing legal work, but this is a fight. This is the fight game. This is boxing. If the ref doesn't tell you to stop, you don't stop. You do what needs to be done to win. And that is what it is. Unfortunately, it's not the most honourable thing, but this is war. We're in it to win it, and whatever needs to be done to do that is what matters. So I think Fury would handle Ruiz. Wilder Fury doesn't even really need to be talked about. Wilder's improvements have been clear through each fight. However, he just doesn't have what it takes to beat Fury after 3 losses. The psychological damage and the psychological impact of that is too much for him. Everything Fury does is geared to beating him now, and Fury can adapt and overcome anything Wilder has to offer, no matter how good he gets, irrelevant to the power. Obviously he's knocked Fury down, but how many times has Fury got up? That's the thing to keep in mind. Fury's the only man to repetitively get up, and that will be in Wilder's head. So for me, the eventual outcome of this is going to be an undisputed fight between Alexander Usyk and the big man Tyson Fury himself. I think the way that fight plays out, relatively simple in my eyes. I think Usyk has a lot of control early, has a lot of success early, but progressively weakens against the size, punch volume and physicality of Tyson Fury, particularly if it's the Tyson Fury from the last 2 Wilder fights. If it's the Tyson Fury that applies pressure, that applies weight, that controls hand position, that puts his head out of the way and just punches around the back of the head, around the back of the ears. I think Usyk will find it far more difficult to maintain distance and control that distance like he did against AJ. The feints and the little foot movements that enabled him to pick the punches he did against AJ won't work quite as well against Fury, because of Fury's successful lateral movement and the speed of his feet and reactions are far greater. So even if he gets caught out, he can react quick, ride punches and counter, which I think will result in a Fury either UD or a very, very late stoppage. I'm talking last rounds, 11 or 12. And I think for me, that's the way it plays out. I personally feel like Usyk is the better boxer. When you look at complete styles, you look at achievements. I mean, what he did in the cruiserweight division to become undisputed was exceptional. I think he beats every other heavyweight on the list. Wilder presents a risk because of the power, but that's it. I think he beats all of them, all of the rest of them handily. He's only going to keep getting better and grow at the division as well. Now he's becoming more comfortable with the weight. As he demonstrated with the AJ fight. He's got a great chin. He's used to boxing super heavyweights in the World Series of Boxing. He's used to boxing these big guys. He's not scared of them. They don't present anything new to him, and I think he's going to be very effective as a result of that. And I think Fury will come out on top. Just later on in the fight, he'll start being able to utilize his size a little bit more. That all being said, Usyk with exceptional adaptability himself. Great footwork, great lateral movement. So if he can pivot and turn Fury in close, he can set up some great body punches, and perhaps we'll see a different result to what I expected. So please don't take any of these tips to the betting shop, because I'm never sure 100% about any boxing match. That's the great thing about the sport, you know. You can have your opinions. You can have your opinions on any fight, on any fighter. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to come to fruition. Now, honourable mentions: Joe Joyce. I love Joe Joyce. Big Joe Joyce fan. Anyone that's watched any of my other videos will know. He's an awkward, powerful and resilient fighter who basically is going to be a tough night's work for anyone, Fury and Usyk included, because he's going to be there. He's just going to keep being there and being there and being there and working, and you're going to struggle to nail him down. That doesn't mean he's not beatable, but he's going to be a hard night's work for anyone in the division. Every single name that I've mentioned up till there struggles with Joe Joyce. Jared Anderson, top rank, promoted, young black American fighter, very characterful, very funny. I love his style, shows incredible smoothness of technique, some lovely little defensive movements that you don't often see at heavyweight. And I think there's going to be big things for him in the near future. Another name to watch, Filip Hrgović. It's a toss-up. We haven't seen him really in with any good names. He shows a lot of power. He's awkward. He's rangy. And he boxes in very much in the Klitschko kind of hold him on the end of the jab, big shot, big hook kind of vein of boxing, which has proven to be so effective for the last 20 years. Why would anything change? But does he beat any of the 6 names previously mentioned? I'm not entirely sure. Other than that, you've obviously got Luis Ortiz with a good win against Charles Martin the other day. I mean, neither particularly great fighters, and I'm almost certain there's some drugs involved in the life of Luis Ortiz and his training somewhere. We've seen it in the past, and I think the reason a lot of these heavyweights don't accept fights at the last minute is because they're still mid-cycle and they can't afford to get caught out, which is why so many heavyweights get caught out anyway. But that's it, guys. That's my prediction for all of the fights. What's next for AJ if he loses again to Usyk? Hopefully loads more big fights. The rematch with Whyte, that'd be wicked. Another fight with Andy Ruiz, taking on somebody like Luis Ortiz, taking on Joe Joyce. You've got all these great names, great fights in the heavyweight division. This, for me, is the most exciting, the best the heavyweight division has been since Lewis, Holyfield, Tyson, Riddick Bowe. All of these names were there and making great nights for all of us to watch. So, yeah, it excites me, and hopefully it's exciting you guys too. So stick with the heavyweights. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to head over to my Instagram, give me a follow. Don't forget to head over to my website, www.theboxinglocker.com. Subscribe to access all my coaching content, full-length tutorials, tons of wicked stuff, more stuff added every single week, every single month. I'm adding more and more content, trying to help people with no boxing background or with experienced boxing knowledge to just level up their game, to just understand things a little bit differently and see things from a different perspective, or to learn the absolute basics and build their game up from the ground up. So that's the website. Thank you to all of my partnerships and affiliates. Venom, I'm a Venom athlete. I absolutely love all the Venom gear I've got. Boxing Bar, some of the best tools in the boxing game. We've got Earth Conscious natural deodorant. We've got Grease Lightning car wash. We've got Global Green CBD, some wicked CBD oil that I take every night, and I use the topical balm to work on all my sore muscles. So just some great stuff. So thanks to those guys, and please do be sure to check those out. Thank you for watching. I hope you appreciated my opinion. Drop yours in the comments, and I'll see you all for the next video.